Hey everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I put together this ironing board. Alright, so here is my little ironing board that I like to use. I made this a few years back. I don't recall exactly when. Obviously you can find some already made, like this one for example, which was very useful for me. The only problem is that it is very small, and I was using this to do some quilts, some lap quilts that I was doing for my family one year to give them for Christmas, and I was able to do the small blocks on here, but then I realized I needed something bigger, but I also wanted it to be right next to my sewing machine, so as soon as I sewed a block, I could iron it right away. And of course, as it got bigger, I needed more space, so I decided to create my own. And you can see here, this is my old block here, my old ironing block, and there's my iron, and as you can see, it is very well worn on both sides, pretty much, kind of little burn marks. And then I realized something, that I never even sewed the closing. I just put some little pins right there. I think I just wanted to hurry up and get this done. So let's deconstruct this so that we can see what's inside, and then we can talk about the materials. Of course, I'm just pulling out the pins. If I didn't have the pins, well, obviously I would unsew this, but we're just going to deconstruct it and pull out what's inside. As you can see, this is just created like a pillowcase. Pull it off. There we go. So it's just like a pillowcase, and it is on a fold right here. So it is just sewn on the sides and just a little bit bigger so that these can get tucked in. Okay, here's the board, and it's got some batting in there, and this was pretty much like melted into the board, so I have to pull it off. Okay, this is just wrapped around and nothing much to it. I'm just going to tear into it and pull it off. Okay, and here you can see the board that I used, the plywood. Okay, so I've taken the batting off of it. There's a little bit that are still here, but this is just a scrap piece of plywood. This is about a 3/4 inch piece of plywood that we had as a scrap left over. I don't even remember what we did with it. It has a bit of a little curve to it because, you know, it's old and I've had it here for quite some time, and I think the heat has caused this. Now, you don't have to use a, you know, this thick of a board. It could be a lot thinner, as long as it's nice and sturdy and it doesn't bend on you, and you can use it and the heat won't transfer too far, you know, down onto other surfaces. Okay, so we need a piece of scrap plywood. Mine is, this is 11 inches by 12. So it's not a perfect square or anything. It's 11 by 12, maybe a 12 by 12 might be a good size for you to use. Okay, so then I've got some fabric, and we want enough fabric to create the casing to cover it, and that will also go over some quilters batting here. This is a polyester batting. You can use a cotton one. I'd probably, at this point, I would probably recommend a cotton one, because as you saw, this one kind of melted into it, and I just had to pull it off like that. So maybe a cotton one would be better. Okay, we're going to need something to measure with, so you need some measuring tools. I've got a straight edge ruler here. I've also got my cutting board, my mat board here, where I can cut on, or we can use a tape measure. We also need something to cut with. I've got scissors here. I've also got my rotary cutter, because I am going to be cutting on my mat, but you can use either tool. And the other item that I don't have pictured here is my sewing machine with some thread, and just find thread that coordinates with your fabric. And you'll also need a hand needle, sewing needle, and so you can sew the enclosure, so you don't do what I did and just pin it. Alright, so let's get to measuring so we can cut our batting and wrap our board with it, and then we can also measure and cut our fabric casing for our board. Okay, so I've spread out my batting here, and I can see that it is a thin type of batting, so you can decide if you wanted to use it as it is or double it up and make it even thicker. That just all depends on how cushiony you want this. And you can get a heavier quilting batting ahead of time. I happen to have this one, so I'm going to use this one. It's for baby quilts. I think I'm going to double it up, actually, because I believe the one that I used before was a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to fold it in half like that. And I really just want, you know, this part and this part. I don't have to worry about the sides. Now, some of, you know, it's going to get wrapped around the sides, so you're going to have some little cushiony sides, but on one side we may not have that, and we don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to measure this about the width of the board, like so. So I'm going to put it right there, and that goes around it, plus a little bit extra. So I know that I need to cut about so much so that I know that it at least goes across like that. Well, we're going to end it right here, so I can just move it over a little bit and get it on the ends there, okay? Okay, so my piece is now cut. It's not straight by any means. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to wrap it around like that. I want this little cut edge on the, you know, the edge of the board. You could take your hot glue gun and put a little bit of glue here and get it on there so it doesn't move around on you. I'm just going to sandwich it like that. I'm not going to worry about it. So now I want to cut the casing. Now, let me measure my board one more time, or the actual board. I measured it on my grid here. Now let me measure it one more time. It is 11 inches, a little bit more. And this way it is 12 inches. Okay, so I have an 11 by 12, so, but I need to take into consideration that the fabric does need to wrap around the sides here. So I'm going to take, let's see, the shorter measurement, 11. So when I cut that piece, I'm going to give it 1 inch extra for each side. So I'm actually going to cut it 13 inches. And then the 12 one, I'm actually going to give it maybe 4 inches extra so I can fold in. So I need an inch here, and then a couple extra inches to tuck. So we're going to, instead of cutting it at 12, we're going to cut it at 16. So we need, I said 13 by 16. So just measure your board, give it an inch on each side, and the one that's gonna fold in, give it a couple of extra inches besides the inch, okay? So just give it some extra room there. All right, we're gonna take our fabric, and I'm actually going to fold it a little bit less because I don't want to waste fabric. So this is going to be my width. I'm going to use the 11 inches plus the 2 inches that I said. So that'll be 12. So I want it at 12. I can bring it down a little bit less of a fold. Let's bring this down a little bit less. Let's check that. And it's a little too much. Let's do a little bit less. Oh, actually it's 13. So we have to go a little bit more. I'm thinking 1 inch more. We are doing the side where I had less, which was 11. So I'm going 12. Now remember, these are not your measurements unless you cut a board that's 11 by 12. Okay, a little bit more. Right there. Okay. I'm just going to make sure it's 13 everywhere. If it's a little bit more, that is fine. Now, I had mine on a fold on the longer one, but I'm actually going to make the seams all the way around. Okay. And 13. So that's perfect. Now, the other side I had said I was going to do 12 and I was going to add 4 inches. So instead of 12, I'm going to go 16. And I got a pretty good straight edge here, so that's good. I'm going to mark 16 inches right here. I could use my cutting board, but obviously I'm using my scissors now. So we'll just go with that. 16, and then I'm going to mark it again over here, just to make sure that I cut it as straight as I can. All right. And just take my scissors. Now, I could leave it on the fold, but I'm going to go ahead and cut that as well. Okay, let's take these pins off. All right, so I have two pieces now. I'm going to take one, turn it over, and you might want to iron it. Okay, so I'm going to put the other one with the right side facing down. Here we go. Now my longer side is the one I'm going to tuck in, so I'm not going to sew one of the sides, you know, on the long side. We're just going to sew this part down here and then across the sides. Okay, we're making like a pillowcase, okay? So we're now going to take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to cut, sew down, and then across and across. And because I added 1 inch, 1 inch, my board is about 1 inch thick, and I ended up adding 2 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sew 1/2 inch seams. 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And I shall be back with that part sewn. Okay, so here's the casing that I've sewn. This is the opening over here. So now we just want to turn it over, and this might fit really snug, but we're going to try and get it in our board inside of it. Okay. Now, like I said, if you want to do some hot gluing and glue the batting on the little edge here, and then on this other edge, go ahead and do so. Okay, so now we're going to put the board in there, but I don't want to struggle. I already tried it and I struggled a little too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, put my board in there, bring this up. Let me put it in a little bit more, just a tiny bit. There we go. Fold it over like that. I'm going to do this because then I'm going to have one side a little bit cushionier than the other, and I think that'll be fine, and this will be the bottom of my board. So in order for these little bits not to move on me, I am going to just do a little bit of stitching with my needle. Okay, so this is all I'm going to do. Just make a little knot right here. I just wanted to hold on while I slide it in because I don't recall how I did it before. But we are inventing a method right now. Okay, so I need to put more thread on that needle. So this is going to be my bottom part. This is going to be the top part of my little ironing board. So now I'm going to actually feed this end into my case here, so I don't have to struggle so much. What I did before is I tried sliding it on, but then all of this was getting pulled up this way, and then I kept reaching in to tuck it back in, but it was really difficult to do it on the edges here. So I'm just going to hold on to the bottom of it as I slide it in. Try to keep the seams at the sides, so ever so often just twist it a little bit, slide it. Let me touch in there, and yeah, everything's still on the corners. I'm just reaching in and pushing whatever may have been dragged upward. The batting is still in there. It's like you're doing a pillow actually. Try to get all this all nice. Gonna twist it a little bit. Get it in as far down as you can into your case. There we go. It's far in. Now all I'm going to do is just kind of feel around and make sure the batting is smooth in there. Just smooth it out. Make sure that there's no, you know, little bumps in there. Oh, and that feels really nice. It feels nice and cushiony too. Okay, so we didn't make these little corners. We didn't sew these little corners in. I just left them like that. You could then, you know, push them in and create a little corner by pushing the little ends in and then sewing that down. But I'm not really going to bother with that because we're obviously not going to be able to have them over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this up. I'm going to push this one in. So all this goes pushed in, okay? Push that in like that. And then just fold this one. See how it's getting folded? Almost like when you're gift wrapping. And then just fold this end a little bit to meet up with this line here. So push all that in as far as you can. Make a nice little corner. Fold that up. and then it's going to go over it a little bit down and to the side. So see that? And now we're just going to hand stitch that with our needle and thread. Okay, so now I want to sew this flap, like I said, down on there. So I've run my needle, I put some thread on my needle, and then I made a little knot, and then I pushed it through here, coming out this side, so that when I push it down, I can then now grab both little fabrics and the folded edge. Let me bring this up like this. And then slide in and over and then up to the folded edge. I go down into the fabric, go over about 1/2 inch up into the fold and pull that. One last time. So when I pull the thread up, right where I came out, right underneath it on the other fabric, slide it under 1/2 inch under that fabric, and then come up and then grab the fold of the flap here, and there you go. And then just keep repeating that till you get to the end. And then when you get to the end over here, just do a little double knot, snip it off, and you're done closing your opening. Okay, so I'm done sewing, and I can just trim off the thread here, and this is covered. It is now sealed in. So the last step would be to just maybe iron it, iron your fabric on there so it looks nice and smooth. I have a little bit of a fold here from where the fabric was folded. This side is nice and smooth, so I don't have to worry about this side. But here we go. We have completed our little ironing board. All right, everyone, so as you see, this is my completed ironing board. It works really well for me. It is just what I happen to need. So you can do this any size you want. You can make it a little bit smaller if this is a little too big for you. And of course, you can use a thinner plywood to create your ironing board. I think it came out really nice, and I'm really happy that I finally got to redo it because the other cover was looking a little worn, a little burnt. Anyhow, it lasted me a long time, so I hope this will last me a long time as well. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a nice comment down below. What do you think of my little owls? I think they're super cute. It's my favorite thing ever. Anyway, leave a nice comment down below. Let me know what you think of it and what you would do different if you were going to make this. That way we can all have different ideas and tips to share with each other. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and thank you to everyone who has been subscribing. Once you hit that red subscription button, make sure you also hit the notification bell so you get notified of when I put up my videos. I have been putting up videos twice a week now, and once in a while I do a little extra vlog. And I think this week I'm probably going to have this as an extra craft for you. So there we go, everyone. Make sure you share on your social medias, and as always, enjoy.